Shalom Aleichem, a good night of Shabbos Pashas Nosei here in America. I believe it's Baleischa, Eretz Yisrael. And in continuation of our history discussion of Telz, I heard recently an interesting story between Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch, who was the Rosh Yeshiva in Telz in Cleveland when they started the yeshiva. He and Rabbi Mordechai Katz, Rabbi Motel Katz, came here to raise money to move the yeshiva from Europe in 1940 to America, and they got stuck. They couldn't return because the war broke out, and that's how they survived. So they were co-Rosh Yeshivas. Rabbi Eliyahu Meir Bloch was the youngest son of Rabbi Yosef Leib Bloch, who was the Rosh Yeshiva from 1910 to 1929 in Telz. His father-in-law was Rabbi Eliezer Gordon, Rabbi Eliezer Gordon, who is credited really for putting the Telz Yeshiva on the map somewhere in 1875, 1880, 83, those years. Lots of history. Telz has a Masada, a tradition, and a strong Masada. It's the father-in-law, Rabbi Eliezer Telzer, to the son-in-law, Rabbi Yosef Meir Bloch, to the sons, the three sons, Rabbi Avram Yitzchak, who took over in 1929 as Rosh Yeshiva, and Rabbi Zalman, his other son was the Menahel. He was appointed already in 1927, and he stayed on, of course. And then Rabbi Yosef Meir Bloch, who was also in the yeshiva, and when he escaped and survived, and his two other brothers, Rabbi Avram Yitzchak and Rabbi Zalman, died in the Holocaust, he and Rabbi Motel Katz became the Rosh Yeshivas in Cleveland, where the yeshiva started in Cleveland, and then later, I think in 1957 or so, it moved to Wycliffe. So the story is that in 1953, the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoel Teitelbaum, came to Cleveland. In Cleveland at the time, the Kalever Rebbe, who lived, when he survived the 3 concentration camps, I believe he was in, he miraculously survived. But Nebuch, they used him as an experiment, and they gave him all kinds of drugs, and so that's why he wasn't able to grow a beard or any hair whatsoever. So he was beardless. That's he wore a shtreim and he was beardless, and he was from Hungary. The Kalever dynasty is from Hungary, I believe, and that famous song "Solo Kok Shmar," "Solo Kok Shmar" or in Yiddish. Es krayet shoin der hon, oi togin kum shoinon, in a greenem feldol, perl piskol. That tune, which is very beautiful, maybe another time we'll sing it and teach it. So anyway, he lived in Cleveland after the war. Later he went to Bnei Brak, and then to ultimate Yerushalayim. And he passed away, I think, this year or last year. So, and he was known for going around Eretz Yisrael to all the kibbutzim and all over saying Shema Yisrael, because he made a deal with Hashem. He said, if you get me out of these concentration camps, I promise I'm going to, teach Yidden about Hashem. And he did it through that very one sentence, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. So, he was related to the Satmar Rav. So the Satmar Rav, when was invited to Cleveland, I guess to probably raise funds as well for his yeshiva in Williamsburg and the institutions that he was developing in the 50s. So he stayed with the Kalever Rebbe, and the Kalever Rebbe, by the way, made a Chassidish cheder in Cleveland. Rabbi Leibel Shapiro, the Rosh Yeshiva of Lubavitch Yeshiva in Miami, told me that he learned in that cheder, and it was a good cheder. I'm sure it was a Yiddish-speaking cheder. So he was there in Cleveland. Anyway, Satmar Rebbe went to meet Rabbi Eliyahu Meir Bloch. I don't know if they knew each other from before. I don't know. Probably from New York. Satmar Rebbe came in 44, end of 46, and Rosh Hashanah 47, I believe, was 46 going into 47, and so maybe he met him. Those 47 to 53 is 6 years. They could have met each other in New York. Anyway, they knew each other. So the Satmar Rebbe told the Kalev Rebbe he wants to speak to Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch, and he went to see him privately. And the story is that they had a disagreement about the topic that was most relevant to the Satmar Rav, and that is anti-Zionism. And Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch was known as a big Agudist. He was very much behind the Agudah, and of course the Agudah supported religious Zionism and Eretz Yisrael and all that, and not necessarily not the state of Eretz Yisrael by itself, but the ideology. And the Satmar Rav was very upset, and he let him have it. The Satmar Rav is known to have a very sharp tongue, very smart, and he would say his opinion, and he let him have it. And one of the things that he said was very, very insulting to Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch. Anyway, the conversation ended, and the Satmar Rav left, and that's it. He didn't dream for a moment that Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch is going to invite him to the yeshiva to give a shiur for the Bacharim. He just was insulted by him. You think he's going to, say, come, I love you, come back. Before the Satmar Rav left, he was there 2 weeks, and he was, about to leave a day or two before, whatever. His Gaber, Yosel Ashkenazi, was with him, and he gets a call that the Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch asked that he come to the yeshiva to give a shiur to the Bacharim. So Rabbi Ashkenazi was against it, because the Masechta they were learning, I think, was Nedarim, and the Satmar Rav had not given shiurim in Nedarim in his yeshiva. And before giving a drasha to Talmidei Chachamim, Bacharim, and the yeshiva, you need to prepare, and he didn't get a chance to prepare. This was the way Yosel Ashkenazi thought. Also, politically, he felt this would be, a compromising situation, because right after they had this disagreement, he's coming there. He didn't think it was a good idea, so he tried telling the Satmar Rav not to do it. The Satmar Rav didn't listen, and he said, I'm going. And Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch said later that, or actually maybe he told us to the Satmar Rav or to Rabbi Yosel Ashkenazi, that the reason I called him back was that he had asked me, the Satmar Rav realized that he was very sharp, and he had asked me for forgiveness, for mechila. So I said to myself, I'll be meichel you if you give a shiur. So he says, sure. He came in, he walked in, he asked what Masechta they're learning, and on the spot he gave a gevaldige shiur. And Rabbi Yosef Meir Bloch was blown away, and he got up, and he spoke so highly of him, kind of great Talmud Chacham he is, and everything else. So, it's something that happened many years ago, and it's about Satmar Rav and the Telz and Satmar of Cleveland, and it points to several things. The Edelkeit, I believe, the refinement of Rebbe Eliyahu Meir Bloch, which is in line with the Telzer, Musar Shita and the Shiura Das, Machshava Hashkafa. There's something very special about Midos, right? Kol sheruch habriyas noichem menu, ruch hamok noichem menu. If people feel you're a mensch, then the Eibishter says you're a mensch. In the previous Rebbes, the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimorim, it's full of discussion of how to deal and improve with Midas character. And every day, from Sunday through Thursday, I teach at 7 in the morning on Skype, on a Skype-like program, and it's also on Facebook Live. Maimorim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, in which we tackle these issues. So, in line with this story, I want to encourage people who are up at that time, and if not, get up at that time. And it's 45 minutes, 7 to 7:45. It's a group of us and the students are adults, midlife, intelligent people. It's a geschmacka conversation, stories and anecdotes. It's an animated shiur, an animated 45 minutes, and I think that we can all benefit from learning the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimorim, dealing primarily with midos and behavior improvement in many, many ways. Everyone should have a gewaldige Shabbos and a gewaldige Motzei Shabbos and a gewaldige upcoming week. We should be zeicher to the Gula Shlema B'Korav Mamash.